Hello and welcome back to the DoneDeal YouTube channel. My name is David OC and today we're reviewing the Ford Kuga. Now, I personally think this is the best Kuga yet. They've made some drastic improvements from its predecessor. It looks a lot nicer, it's nicer to drive, and of course there are some very interesting engines available with it. Now, before we get into the review, make sure to check out DoneDeal, as we've got over 1,000 trusted dealers nationwide and a load of cars for you to pick from. So hit the link up there and we'll get straight into the review. Over the years, I've always found the Kuga looks a little bit industrial. It's quite a hard-wearing, boxy shaped car. However, the new one is a lot more pleasant on the eyes. On the front, we see a little bit of the Ford Puma. The grille actually changes depending on what kind of trim levels you get. So you can have the titanium, the Vignale, the ST, and this one, the ST Line X, which is a little bit more extreme. So we've got a really nice front grille. A hint of Aston Martin in there, is that fair to say? These lights, as I said, very like the Ford Puma. This one's got some 18-inch alloys, look really good, particularly with the contrasting red brakes, and they look quite well against the lucid red paint. Along the side, there's a nice few little lines, and actually the side profile looks really, really nice. And then the rear, again, it's nice and simple, and it actually has some exhausts. We'll find out later if those are real or fake, so make sure to stay tuned. Before we feast your eyes on the interior, let's take a look at the different options available underneath the bonnet. So the base engine is a 1.5 litre diesel, and you can also get it with a 2 litre diesel and a 2 litre diesel mild hybrid system. The mild hybrid system, you don't really tend to notice them too much in cars. However, this particular one has got a 2.5 litre petrol engine. It's 4-cylinder and it's paired with a plug-in hybrid battery. So it's a 14 kilowatt hour battery. And in terms of range, I actually collected it full, drove it in pure EV mode for 2 days, and I got about 42 or 43 kilometers. I think you can probably get over 50 if you're really careful with how you drive it. But it is a good place to be, and to be honest, in this world, I actually think plug-in hybrid is kind of the solution, particularly if you have a home charger and you do a lot of city driving. This is brilliant to drive around the city, and the petrol engine only really comes on when you A, run out of battery, or B, put your foot down really hard. So as a whole, it's really, really good. And in terms of charging times, on a 3-pin socket, it's about 6 hours, and if you've got a wall charger at home, about 3.5 hours. So it's pretty quick to charge up. Definitely if you go home, go to sleep, charge up the next day, it'll be good for the commute to the office. The other thing that I didn't mention is that the diesel version is available with 4-wheel drive, which I really, really like. Not many SUVs nowadays are available in 4-wheel drive. Around the rear, well, I did say I'd answer the question of if the exhausts are real or not, and I can confirm that they are, so good job Ford on that one. Now, as we open it up, I'm going to come back to this reversing camera later on, but here we have a really, really nice spacious boot. There's storage under here for all your charging cables. I like the Ford have done that. A lot of manufacturers seem to kind of completely forget that the cables have to come with you. There's no load lip, there's a 12-volt socket, some shopping hooks for your shopping bags. I've never used them myself, but I think that, I don't know, we always talk about it, but we never actually use them in real life. I love this. So you just pull that lever and the back seat folds right down. So it's really, really practical, to be fair. As a whole, the boot is very spacious. Worth noting, if you get the plug-in hybrid version, because of the batteries, the boot shrinks a little bit. It's not drastic, but it is a little bit smaller. So if you are looking to carry a lot of goods, you've maybe prams, buggies, things like that, it might be worth considering the diesel versions. But yeah, that is the boot as a whole. Now we're going to go into the back seats, because I want to show you something really, really cool there. Space in the rear is really, really good. In fact, I'd say it's potentially the best in the class. So to start with, ISOFIX points for the baby seats are really easily accessible. And when you climb in, these seats are really, really comfortable. Now I know these are the ST line, so they come with kind of like an Alcantara finish, but they're very, very comfortable. And in terms of other creature comforts, you've got a 3-pin socket down here. Now, I don't know if this is the genius within me, but I'm wondering if you could charge the car from that 3-pin socket. I don't know. Seems like I may have figured out the answer. Anyway, back to space in here. So check out how cool this is. You can pull and put back the seat like that, so you can get in a really comfortable position. You can recline it. It is a lovely, lovely place to be in here. Drink holders in here. So as a whole, the back of this is really, really good. One quick observation that I am going to make though is there's kind of a lot of little like gaps and things where crumbs could go. So if you've got young kids and they've got biscuits and all sorts of different things, I feel like you're going to be finding a lot of crumbs and stuff. So hoovering this is going to be a little bit of a nightmare, worth bearing in mind. But as a whole, I have to say, I love it. Now, the part we've all been waiting for, the interior of the Kuga. So as a whole, as I said back there, the seats are really, really comfortable. They're fully adjustable, so you can get nice and high, so you can see over that bonnet, but you can also get nice and low, and the steering wheel also adjusts there as well. So it is very easy to get a comfortable position. In terms of the finish and the fit out in here, it's very like a Ford Focus. It's actually extremely, extremely similar. So this whole infotainment system, everything about it is more or less identical. In terms of material used, you've got kind of fake carbon fiber here on this ST line. The glove box, I feel like around here they kind of maybe put some shortcuts on the material, but overall the steering wheel has a lovely finish to it. Your armrest here is nice, armrest here is nice, 2 drink holders, some storage here for your phone, but you're never going to use that because there's wireless charging down there, which is absolutely brilliant. And then you've also got USB-C and USB, so that's brilliant because in the old school right now we can plug in our USB, but in 2 or 3 years time when we don't have that, we can use the USB-C. Also a 12-volt socket, climate control, all buttons here. I'm a big, big fan of that, and it's the same with the radio. You can quickly turn up the volume and turn down the volume, which is brilliant. Here we've got an 8-inch screen, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, completely compatible, but if you forget the wire, you can still use your Bluetooth, play your music on that. It's got its own sat nav as well. I haven't used it, but it seems to be pretty good, pretty responsive. Then over here, I think it's a 12.3-inch display, and it has all your different bits of information, everything from the way you're using your energy and using the battery, as well as things like switching your modes and going from normal to eco to sport. So as a whole, it's very intuitive in here. Anyone can get into it. It will be very similar to any other Ford you may have driven in the last couple of years. The seat's comfortable, storage under here it's actually really, really deep down there. And yeah, as a whole, as I said, it's a lovely place to sit. So what is the Kuga like to drive? And then more specifically, what is the plug-in hybrid like to drive? So it's come on leaps and bounds. There's no two ways about it. It is an absolutely fabulous car to drive. The suspension is really, really smooth. The visibility is great. You definitely get the sensation that you're in a big, chunky SUV. Whilst I wouldn't like to be in a crash in it, I think if I was to be in a crash, this would be a good choice because it definitely feels really sturdy, and that's very nice, particularly if you've got young kids in the back, a family, or maybe some of your younger kids are going to learn how to drive in it. It's nice to know that they're in something safe. Then in terms of the way it handles, on the day-to-day around town, the turning circle, it's perfectly adequate. The visibility, as I said, is good. You've got loads and loads of driving aids. So obviously it depends on the spec and things, but for example down here you can actually have it park itself, and I'll link to our Ford Puma review where we let the Ford park itself. A terrifying experience, but a good experience all the same. Then in terms of other kind of driving aids, well, it's got lane assist, cruise control, all the usuals that you get very accustomed to now in this day and age. Then obviously we have our reversing camera, which we'll talk a little bit more about. This also has a forward facing camera, which is quite nice. And actually there's a digital display up here. Very hard to capture on camera, but just trust me, it looks really good. It has your speed limit, and then of course your cruise control features as well. So as a whole, it's lovely to drive. When you do pick up the pace, well, there's a good bit of torque in it. There's 225 horsepower when you combine the electric motor and the petrol engine, and that is enough. You do notice when you've no range left, like I do, that it's not as quick as when you've got maybe half tank of electricity. Tank of electricity, is that even correct? I don't know anymore, it's confusing. But what I'm saying is it will be quicker when you've got some battery and petrol. So you've got the torque to get you there, and actually the brakes are really, really responsive too. The only thing I'll say is this being the front wheel drive version and the sheer weight of it, that when you do take a corner quite drastically, aggressively, you will notice the front end washing out a bit and kind of understeering, but it's a Ford Kuga. You're not really supposed to drive it like that. Now we do want to talk about the plug-in hybrid side of things, because down here you can press an EV button and you can genuinely drive along on pure electric mode. And you can get up to, I think it's almost 130 kilometers an hour on that. So you can drive this as an electric car, and that's why I do think it's the best of both worlds. However, if you don't have a way to charge it up at home, plug-in hybrid's probably not a great option. So me, for example, I live in an apartment, and once I ran through my 50-kilometer range, that was it. I now would have to go and charge it in a public charging point, and the reality is I've also still got 500-kilometer range on fuel, so I'm just going to use that because it's a lot less hassle. But it is nice, and even some supermarkets now have free charging points, so I might actually look into that when I go to do my weekly shop, see if I can top it up a little bit whilst I'm in there anyway. And everything else about this, it's just lovely to drive. As I said, it feels sturdy, it's relatively responsive. One thing I want to show you actually is, and I noticed this whilst parking it the other day, so let's say now we're going to put it into a spot. Because of that electric motor, I find it just a little bit jerky at slower speeds. You can see it kind of pops forward. I'm sure you'll get used to that if you own it for quite a while, but when you're really kind of parking very, very close to a wall and your parking sensors are going beep, 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 I was nearly afraid to go a little bit too close in case it shot into the wall. That would be a bit of a nightmare. But as I said, overall, lovely car to drive. The plug-in hybrid version, it's absolutely brilliant. I do think you're probably going to need about 40,000 euros to get this with this spec. Starting prices are around 35 grand. I actually don't think I've mentioned that yet, but I think the sweet spot for the for the Kuga is about 40,000 euros, which when you compare it to some of its competitors, the RAV4, the Hyundai Tucson, the Nissan Qshqai, they also don't really have as good of a hybrid system as this. And that's saying something because Toyota do kind of dominate in the hybrid world, but I really think this hybrid system is pretty good. At this point in every DoneDeal review, we talk about some of our favourite and our least favourite things about the car we're reviewing, and we'll start with some of our least favourite. And now I am nitpicking, however, this parcel shelf is just a little bit flimsy, and in fact it's already broken. One of the things there doesn't even mount up. So yeah, I don't know, I feel like that's a little bit of cost cutting. Some would say maybe they couldn't afford to put better one in there. The second thing, and it doesn't really bug me, but I do just think the key doesn't feel that premium. It's a little bit plasticky, and yeah, maybe they also couldn't afford a better key. I need to get some new jokes. There's a couple features that are really, really cool on the Kuga. And number one is when you open the door, the Ford, it's so considerate. It has this little protector that comes out and stops it from smashing off doors. And even if you do it really fast, it just comes out so quick. Really, really like that. Number two, I'm gonna leave this one up to corny TV Dave. Do you ever arrive at your location, put on your reversing camera, and it's dirty again? Well, don't worry, the Ford Kuga has got you covered. The Ford Kuga comes with its very own reversing camera sprayer. It's totally awesome! I vouch to never have corny TV Dave on the DoneDeal YouTube channel again. So there you have it, that is DoneDeal's review of the Ford Kuga, and I've really enjoyed it. It's a lovely car to drive, plenty of gizmos, very safe, very sturdy, and it just ticks quite a lot of boxes. Now if you've enjoyed the review, please give it a thumbs up and a comment below on what cars you'd like to see us review next. And of course, if you'd like to search for Fords for sale in Ireland, hit the link up there, as we've got over 1,000 trusted dealerships nationwide. And if you've any questions about it, let us know in the comments below. And of course, if you've ever actually owned a Ford Kuga, particularly this style, and you've any experience, don't be afraid to share your knowledge. Sometimes people who've owned the car have a bigger insight than someone like me who might only get it for a couple of days or a week. But I want to say thank you so much for watching. Apologies about the weird skit in the middle, got a little bit hyper there, won't happen again. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.